Hey guys, episode 3 here of the common mistakes when it comes to training different body parts. Today we're going to go through arms, so basically focusing on biceps, triceps, maybe talk a little bit about forearms, but just going to go through the most common mistakes which people are making, you know, the ones I see on a daily basis from my clients. I'm just walking about in the gym and seeing other people doing some pretty stinky ass reps. So let's begin. So we'll start off with the elbows. You know, generally when it comes to doing any bicep, tricep exercise, most of the time your elbows want to be fixed, okay? If you're doing any kind of curl, they shouldn't be moving whatsoever. You curl the weight up and you curl it down, up, down. Same for the extension. If you're doing any form of extension, keep those elbows fixed. Squeeze, up, squeeze, okay? I see too much of this going on, whether it's bringing the weight up, elbows backwards and forwards, or extending, bringing the elbows, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not what you want to be doing. I'll take you through a few examples of what I mean by this. So, this is good technique. Up, squeeze, down, up, down, not up, elbows back, up. Okay, you're not swinging the weight up. When I'm doing this, I'm using other muscle groups to help with the movement. You want to really just focus on isolating the bicep, just the bicep. So let's have a look at the same thing with an overhead skull crush. Okay, this is not what you want to be doing. You're doing some kind of pullover. This is working the lats more than anything. Keep the elbows fixed. Come all the way down, up, squeeze. All the way down, up, squeeze. Another thing which I'm seeing a lot of the time is people are not squeezing and holding the contraction nowhere near as much as they should be. So most people tend to kind of rush through the reps, like this, for example. You know, they're spending very little time in the contracted position. You want to be able to bring the weight up, squeeze it as hard as you possibly can, as if your life depends on it, then return the weight back down to the bottom. So, let me demonstrate. Bring the weight up, squeeze as hard as you can, and then back down. Weight up, squeeze it as hard as you can, and then back down. And another thing as well, when people do this, when they bring the weight up, they bring the weight up way too far. So they kind of bring it to this point here. What's actually happening here, you're actually resting. A lot of time the tension is taken away from the bicep and you give yourself a little bit of a break at the top of each rep. What you want to do is bring the weight up to about this position here, so gravity's still going to be pulling down on your hand. So it's not going to be directly underneath your elbow, going through your forearm. It's going to be in this position. So you're still really going to be working the muscle as gravity's going to be pulling it down at this point. So don't cheat and have a little bit of a rest at the top of the movement, okay? Bring the weight up, squeeze it hard, and then bring it back down. Same goes for triceps. So if you go through this movement here, a lot of people just repping it out way too quickly, okay? Bring the ropes down, squeeze as hard as you possibly can, and then bring the weight back up. Down, squeeze those triceps as hard as you can, and then come back up, okay? Another mistake which people are making is they're simply not using a full range of motion. They're only probably going through 2/3 of what they could actually potentially be doing. So let's say, for example, you're doing a curl, whether it's a seated one or a standing one. A lot of people, they bring the weight up and they only kind of bring it down to this position here, when really you could actually lock it out completely and then bring the weight all the way back up again. So a lot of the time it's beneficial to completely lock out and stretch and lengthen the biceps as much as possible, and then bring them all the way up into the shortened range. Just so you can see it, the tricep version, full range of motion, instead of coming to about here, you could actually come all the way back down, lengthen the tricep as much as possible, then bring it all the way overhead. All the way down, stretch the tricep, and then up over your head. Not just doing half reps, okay? So demonstrating full range of motion again with tricep extension with the rope. Come all the way down, lock out, straighten, and then instead of coming to about here, allow yourself to come all the way up. Bear in mind my elbows are still fixed in place, but I'm lengthening my tricep as much as possible here, then bringing it all the way down and shortening it as much as possible within this position. Okay, so it's not this, I'm using full range of motion, all the way down and squeeze it. All the way up, all the way down and squeeze it. And just so you know, I'm using 2 ropes here. If you use 1 rope, watch what happens. I can't go further down than this point. And you can see at this position here, my elbow is not fully locked out. I can still potentially come all the way back here. The fact that I've only got a short rope limits my range of motion, so I can only really do this. Okay, so I'm rarely going to do tricep extensions with a single rope, but sometimes if I'm at a gym and there's only one, I have to do with the equipment that I've got in front of me. But it's not to say you can change it up a little bit and maybe do 1 at a time. Lock out, squeeze. Lock out, squeeze. I'm almost doubling my range of motion. Another thing I'm seeing as well is a lot of people that that tend to complain about not seeing any kind of significant results with that arm training is that they're using the same grip over and over again. So most of the time people, when they do any kind of dumbbell curl or tricep exercise, whatever it might be, it's usually with the curls, they only use a supinated grip. So you're only applying the same forces to the biceps using this grip. Okay, if you were to change things up, maybe do some exercises with a neutral grip, maybe do some exercises with a pronated grip, you're going to hit different parts of the bicep head. There's 3 different parts, okay? So you want to mix it up from time to time. I'm not saying that you have to do 3 different grips within one workout, but every now and then you should be changing things up. So just to demonstrate an exercise you can do with a pronated grip is the reverse curl with the EZ bar, okay? So pronated grip, elbows tucked in, bring the weight up, not all the way up to the top, about 2/3 of the way up, squeeze the bicep, and then back down. Up, squeeze the bicep, back down. Immediately I can feel my forearms engaging way more than any other exercise. And say for example, trying to do the same thing with a supinated grip, okay? I'm working and placing tension on different parts of the bicep heads, okay? So mix it up. With bicep curls, using just a dumbbell, there's a number of different things you can do differently. So instead of doing your traditional bicep curl with a supinated grip, maybe try it with a neutral grip. All the way down, up, squeeze the bicep. All the way down, up, squeeze the bicep. Maybe even do what's called a Zottman curl, where you actually start off in the pronated position and then rotate and squeeze. So you're actually going through pronated, neutral, supinated. It's a really good exercise to do if you've not done that one before. So another thing people get wrong is they're not training all parts of the strength curve. Okay, I don't want to get too much in what the strength curve is and the ins and outs of it. It's actually quite complicated. But basically, when you're doing a standard, standing bicep curl, the hardest part of the movement is going to be here, when your forearm is 90 degrees to the ground and gravity is pulling down in this direction. This is the hardest part of the movement. This bit's relatively easier, this bit's relatively easier. So you're working the mid-range of the strength curve, but you're neglecting the top portion and the bottom portion. So in order to hit those parts, you actually need to change either the angle of your torso or play about with cables a little bit. So let's see how by changing the angle of your torso, you can work different parts of the strength curve. If we start off by lying back on a bench, which is, say for example, 45 degrees, when you pull the dumbbell up, the hardest part of the movement is going to be here. So if you think about that relative to if you were standing up, it's in this position here, okay? Whereas if you're doing a standing up, the hardest point in the movement would be here, which is the mid-range. Now you're working the lower range by lying back and doing this, okay? You'll find if you've never done it before, doing a curl is significantly harder, especially the bottom part of the movement. Not so much up here, but definitely the bottom part. Now, if you want to work the top range of the strength curve, you change the angle of your torso by doing something like this. So leaning forward on the bench, pulling the dumbbells up and squeezing. You'll find that the bottom part is now relatively easier, but the hardest part of the movement is now up here, all down to gravity. This is the hardest point of the movement, and again, if you've never done it before, you'll notice how different it is and difficult it is compared to just doing it standing upright. So the reason you want to do this, if you can make yourself relatively stronger in the lower portion and top portion of the strength curve, you will overall make yourself stronger in the mid-range, which will allow you to lift even more than beforehand and previously, had you not been working all points in the strength curve. So say for example, if you could only kind of your maximum lift on doing an upright curl be 12.5, if you really work the lower portion and top portion of the strength curve, you might find that you'll be able to lift 15 and 17.5 for the same number of sets and reps. So if you can lift more, obviously you're going to grow more. If you have struggled with your arm training, look back at the kind of things you do when training arms. Have you been doing the same thing over and over again? Have you been doing the same number of sets and reps? Okay? A lot of the time, people do get caught within their comfort zone and go through the same motions again and again and again. You really need to shock your system and do something different. So look at write down what it is your typical arm workout would be, and look to do something different. Okay, so if it's been generally pretty low volume but more strength catered, so say for example you're going for 4 to 5 sets of maybe 8 reps or so, maybe try something higher volume, so say for example 3 to 4 sets, maybe hitting the 12 rep range, or maybe doing a bicep superset, so one bicep exercise followed by another bicep exercise, maybe even a tricep, so 3 bicep exercises one after the other, so starting off maybe 8 reps, then doing another one for 10 reps, then doing another one for 12 reps, okay? Or maybe try doing a bicep tricep superset, so bicep tricep rest, and then go on to the next bicep tricep, and so on. There's a load of different approaches to train your arms, and the key is not to do the same thing over and over again. What the best thing you should be doing is what you're not doing at the moment. And since I don't know what it is you're doing, I can't recommend it. But if you do want to know and you want to take your arm training to the next level, get in touch with me, drop me an email, and get in touch, and I'll be happy to help. So guys, hope you've enjoyed that. That's some of the basic mistakes I've seen people make when it comes to arm training. I know a lot of it's quite basic and fundamental, but it is the basics which people tend to screw up from time to time, and they wonder why they're not getting the results which they're expecting. So, if you enjoyed it, next one we've got coming through is lower body mistakes.